Hello, everyone. It's Diane Mikowski, aka the Massage Mentor, and I am here. It's just, the up and coming things. It seemed like a good name in the beginning, and then now that I'm meeting the up and comings, I'm kind of like, Matt, Gabsy, you've been you've been doing massage for how long now? 27
Going on 28
years.
years, yeah.
28 years. You were recommended by Whitney Lowe as one of his up and coming students. And I think, again, that's a huge compliment. I would say he's a very brilliant man. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing you're pretty excited about that.
I'm very excited. He's been a great mentor and everything else. And he's just been supporting me in ways that I could never thank him enough for.
So Matt, tell me a little bit about the journey to Whitney. How did you meet Whitney Lowe?
Let's see. So when I finished initial schooling in '94, I was looking to take courses from those people that I thought were the experts, the superstars, the people who really knew what was going on. And I was always interested in doing sports massage and working with athletics and things like that. So, when I saw Whitney's class for orthopedic assessment, I took the class, and back then it was a 3-month, 10-day course. It was 4 days, 4 days, and 2 days over 3 months, and had the opportunity to meet him and work with him there, which was fantastic. The knowledge then was just amazing. It was great. So this was even before I was a physical therapist assistant, and met him a couple of times at national conventions. Was a what would you call that? A person who helps him out in terms of, being his body. Not even as TA. I was the body on the table going, "Hey, look at this."
Oh, how about that?
I was the subject. And so we kind of lost touch. And then probably, I think somewhere around 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, something like that, he was teaching a class up here in North Jersey where I live. And I sent him an email and said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I took your class way back when." And he came back and said, "Of course I remember you. You were this and you'd said this and you were," and I was absolutely shocked. I'm like, why would he even remember me? I was like, oh my God. So I signed up for the class because it was always good to have a refresher. And the Wednesday before the class, I get an email and he says, "I have too many people in the class and I need a teaching assistant. And I don't have anybody. Would you want to do it?" So at 6 o'clock in the morning, as I'm reading this email, getting ready for work, I'm like bouncing up and down. I'm jumping all over the place going, "Woo!"
That's awesome.
It was great. So we had, it was a great weekend. And since then, we've kept in touch. He's helped me out. I've been fortunate enough to do some TAing with him, which is always an adventure, always educational. There's always something that I pick up. So, and since then, he's been helping me out with my teaching career and helping me get involved in different organizations. So I've been very, very fortunate, very blessed.
So tell us a little bit about this 27-year journey, because you started a little even before I did, and it was just such a different community. It was such a different, everything was just really different. I don't think a lot of newer therapists understand how different it was 20 years ago to be a massage therapist.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I had to test to be a member of the AMTA. Did you?
I did not have to. I'm ABMP.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't have to test, but I did have to have a certain amount of credits,
right.
Studied hours. I did have to have a certificate from a school, but I did not at that time have to take a test.
Yeah. So back then, the AMTA required you to be a member. You had to legit test in. So you finished school and you went and you sat down and you took a written test and a practical. administered by the chapter board. And there must have been, there had to be at least, I don't know, 50, 60 of us testing it at that time. A little nerve wracking when you're fresh out of school and all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a test. So I got in, and then I did the AMTA's National Sports Massage Team, tested into that, and was able to do a number of sporting events. So in '96, I was in Atlanta for the Olympics as a massage therapist.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Wait. Pause on that one. What was that like? Because that was when it kind of the beginning for us.
Yeah.
Getting into the Olympics. Well, getting into the Olympics too, and with Benny Bond pushing and others pushing to really give us meaning at the Olympics. So what was that like in '96?
It was pretty amazing. It really was. I was gone for 3 weeks, and I wanted to immerse myself in it. So I picked up as many shifts as I could. I did most of my stuff at the tennis venue at Stone Mountain, working with the professional players there, which was good for me because I've always taught tennis and played tennis. So I had a nice connection in that I knew who the players were.
Oh, nice.
And and I also was fortunate enough, I did 2 shifts inside of the Olympic Village itself. So I got pulled into there. So that was really neat, working on some people that all of a sudden you'd read what was it? I worked on a long jumper, and I'm doing my thing, my stretch routine on him and everything. And he's like, okay, that's a little different than what I'm used to. And didn't know who he was, had no idea. A couple of weeks later, I look in People magazine, and there he is, because they were doing a story on Carl Lewis. So Carl Lewis, at that time, won the gold medal by 1.5 inches on his very last jump. How do I remember this? Because the guy that I worked on was James Beckford, the guy who was leading until Carl Lewis's last jump. So that was a pretty phenomenal experience to work on these elite athletes and everything. So my daughters have said, so when the Olympics come to LA, are you gonna try out and put your name in for that? I said, why not? We'll see what happens. So, and I went back a month later and did the Paralympics down in Atlanta. So working on those athletes is really special, very, very inspirational. You'll learn a lot when you're working with people like that, with those athletes. Biggest thing I took away was I don't have problems. I have just like issues I need to deal with better. As I'm watching these athletes who are, because I was at the aquatic center and watching them was just really, really amazing. So
there's something I haven't been to the Olympics, but I've gotten to work on some athletes. There was a professional women's soccer team in the Philadelphia area for a while, and I was their go-to massage therapist, and I got to sit on the sideline. And there's nothing like when you work on someone, and then I think I helped with that. I helped with that. Do you know I help with that? Like, do you see how they're running? I could have had a small part in that. That's just I think that's a really good feeling.
It's a great feeling.
It really
Absolutely.
is. So you did the Olympics, and tell us a little bit more about your journey. And one of the things too that I always like to hear about is, just to keep it real with people, is it hasn't always been easy, probably too.
No, it's definitely been a challenge at times. I mean, back starting, it was definitely, I think, at least my experience was that it was definitely tougher being a man trying to break in doing massage than it was as a woman. Full disclosure, sports massage was just, really, like you said, with Benny and everybody trying to give it more legitimacy in that respect. So, the relaxation environment was much more prevalent then. And so for me, breaking into that was hard. So that's one of the reasons I steered myself towards working with athletes, because I found that athletes, it didn't matter to them what sex you were. If so long as you had good hands and you knew what you were doing, that's really what they cared about. And so there's a story about when I was working the New York City Marathon one year, Greta Weitz. So I know I'm going old school. Look at the hair, I'm definitely old.
Mhm.
So there was a story, urban legend, I don't know, about, within a few moments of you putting your hand on her, if she didn't like what you were doing, it was stop, go away. So I never worked on her. I didn't work on her. But so yeah, working with athletes was definitely and people who are in pain, people who had injuries, was definitely a better venue, better calling for me than just doing just the relaxation massage.
And you said, so 27 years is a long time. And you said that you still have some clients that you see
Yeah.
after all this time. What would you say are some of the keys for you in making in the industry for as long as you have? What are some of your tricks?
I think it's just being passionate. I also do physical therapy, but my first passion really is massage. And if I could honestly do massage as a real full-time and have guaranteed hours and income and everything, I would probably jump right back to it. I think it's also the people that you meet, they can inspire you, they can drive you. I was on the AMTA New Jersey chapter board for a while, and some of those people were definitely influential and inspirational in helping me do things. With them, I became the massage emergency response team coordinator for New Jersey. So
Oh, cool.
so I was at
Wait,
during
what does
9/11.
that entail? What does that look like? What do you
So
do in that
so
position?
yeah, so that was the idea, was to work on the rescue workers in the case of an emergency, a disaster, something going on, whether it's with the Red Cross or with other government agencies. And it was a really great concept.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I was actually through the AMTA, and I wasn't the only massage therapist who did this, but I was the only one in New Jersey through the AMTA who was qualified, because they had a whole educational course on it, to work. And so I spent 48 hours down at the Pentagon at Ground Zero.
Oh, wow.
And then I did 2 stints at
Thank you for
Ground
your
Zero in New York
service.
City.
Thank you for your service. That's a big deal.
So that was also pretty inspirational and taxing emotionally. Just that was challenging. But so I think just, you could use the cliche of wanting to help people, but honestly, I think all of us as massage therapists, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't want to really help people. So I think, your clients can inspire you, the people that you meet, and I've been really fortunate. So I think my passion comes and my drive comes from seemingly being fortunate enough to find the right person at the right time to keep me moving, keep me going, keeping me on the track. Meeting you now is fantastic for me.
So, so keeping on the track, keeping moving, what would you say that are some ways that you try to stay inspired outside of that? I mean, are you big on taking classes? How are your body mechanics? I mean, what else are you doing? 27 years is something to celebrate.
It's a while. I've always enjoyed working out, so I think that's always been a help in terms of just keeping my body in shape. I think it's body mechanics makes a big deal. I mean, I know schools teach what kind of like an ideal, what your table height should be, but I think it's also finding and being willing to experiment with what works best for you.
Yes.
I mean, compared to some other massage therapists, I'm sure my table is much higher than what other people would have it, because I've always just found it, I didn't have to bend over so much. I didn't have to use my back or my legs as much. I was just able to ease into things easier at that height. So I think that was a piece of longevity. So being willing to experiment with that, continuing education, I love. I'm definitely a lifelong learner. My family will tell you I don't stop learning, whether it's something a documentary or something educational, or even working on my own classes and stuff. Just trying to learn and then disseminate that information, I think, is a big driver for me as well.
So tell us a little bit about, you have some classes that you're working on in the Vermont area, Alabama. You got some stuff cooking. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
Yes. So I have a class. It's called Orthopedic Procedures and Post-Surgical Precautions for the massage therapist. So it's actually an 8-hour class. And the idea is I'm trying to build this whole group of classes that I like to call bridging the gap. Because I think that there is an educational gap between what an entry-level massage therapist learns and what an entry-level physical therapist assistant learns, and just in terms of pathologies, surgeries, things like that, and what we can do and not do. So the idea is to help bring in some of that physical therapy knowledge and disseminate it to the massage therapist, keeping it all within scope of practice. So this class is actually about total hip replacements, knee replacements, shoulder surgeries, and what are those precautions and protocols that a doctor or the surgeon's actually going to place onto the patient. And then how do we as massage therapists be able to work with that population without doing any harm to the patient or to the surgeries itself.
Oh, I like that.
So that is one class that I'm teaching now. I was in the fall, I was up in Maine and Massachusetts. Hopefully this fall I will be in Vermont, maybe down in Alabama in the spring if that comes together. I'm hoping that I get to be picked at the national convention. So I've gotten the class down into a 2-hour, a 3-hour, and a combined 5-hour. And I'm hoping that my 2-hour hip and knee class gets picked for the convention this year. It was picked the last 2 years, but COVID kind of shut that down. So I'm hoping that I still get the chance.
So any other words of wisdom you want to leave us with? And hopefully you'll come back and we'll find out more about your classes coming up in the fall. But is there anything you want to leave us with?
Oof.
Words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. I think just, if finding your way and finding your passion within this industry can be challenging at times, but I've been really fortunate. The industry as a whole has been very kind to me, and I feel just really, really fortunate. So keep doing what you're doing, and if that particular aspect of massage is not what you're enjoying, but you still enjoy doing massage, then educate yourself and find another way, because it's always there.
Yes,
it's always there. Don't give up on it.
Don't give up.
Yep, that's probably the best way I could say it. Don't give up.
It's really true.
Keep moving, as a good friend tells me, keep moving the ball forward.
Yes, it's so true. You can't give up. You just got to keep going. There's no messing up. Just keep going. Keep being yourself. I love it. Matt, up and coming Whitney Lowe. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll have you back once you get your classes all set up.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.